How old were you when you lost the coveted V card? The infamous virginity question that still manages to raise eyebrows. Despite our society's increasing openness about sexuality, this subject remains somewhat of a touchy subject. But is that really the case across the world? You see, the concept of virginity isn't as black as white as one might think. There's an ongoing debate about truly what losing one's virginity means. For some, the textbook definition is not exactly what it means, while others maintain a more traditional stance. This lack of consensus makes pinpointing the average age of virginity loss a complex task. It has everything to do with the cultural terms, personal beliefs, and varying perspectives. But somehow, it makes it more fascinating, doesn't it? This ambiguity surrounding virginity becomes even more fascinating when we look at it through a global lens. You see, the definition and significance of this rite of passage can shift dramatically from one corner of the world to another. Now, when you think of places like Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland, and even Iceland, what comes to mind? Stunning natural landscapes, perhaps? According to various surveys, and let's be real, verifying these kinds of personal details can be tricky. People in these Scandinavian countries are believed to lose their virginity as young as 16 years old. And in Iceland, the age drops even lower, with some reports suggesting it's around 15 years old. Now at this point, you might be wondering, but why? What's the deal with these Nordic nations and their surprisingly early exploration? Well, it's all about the cultural thread that seems to weave through these societies. You see, in many of these countries, there's a refreshingly open and progressive attitude towards sexuality and human relationships. Discussions about intimacy and personal growth aren't swept under the rug, but rather embraced as natural parts of life's journey. Now, while the rest of the world might still be dealing with outdated taboos, these Nordic nations are fostering environments where young people can navigate these personal experiences with a sense of openness and understanding. Of course, every individual's journey is unique, and there's no one-size-fits-all approach to such delicate matters. But one thing's for sure, the Scandinavian approach to intimacy is a thought-provoking one, challenging us to re-examine our own perspectives. According to other surveys from around the world, the vast majority of people tend to lose their virginity between the ages of 17 and 20. But here's where things get really interesting. There's a noticeable difference in the average ages between continents and regions. In the Western world, specifically in Europe and North America, the loss of virginity tends to occur at a slightly younger age. Take, for instance, countries like the United States, France, and the United Kingdom, where the average age hovers around 18 years old. In parts of Asia, such as Japan and Hong Kong, the cultural norms seem to favor a more patient approach. People in these regions tend to wait until they're 19 or 20 before taking the leap. Now, before you start making any judgments, let's remember that every culture has its unique set of values, traditions, and beliefs, all of which shape attitudes towards personal relationships. Some societies might view it as a natural progression into adulthood, while others may see it as a more sacred act reserved for a specific stage in life. Now, we've already explored how different regions tend to approach intimacy at varying ages, but there are a few countries that truly stand out from the pack. Take the case of China, Singapore, India, and Malaysia. In these nations, the average age for losing one's virginity is 22 or 23 years old. Can you imagine? By the time most people in these cultures explore intimacy for the first time, their peers in other parts of the world might have already graduated from college and started on their professional journeys. While some societies might view intimacy as a natural progression into adulthood, these countries seem to embrace a more patient, perhaps even traditional approach. These are just averages. Within each of these nations, there are a multitude of personal stories and experiences that defy the norm, and that's the beauty of it all, isn't it? Beneath these cultural norms are experiences, each one as unique as the next. Next, let's check out Malaysia, shall we? Now, in this Southeast Asian nation, the average age for losing one's virginity is 23 years. Intimacy seems to be an experience reserved for those who have truly blossomed into adulthood. Speaking of blossoming, let's swing over to India, where the average virginity losing age clocks in at 22.9 years. Now, in a country deep in rich traditions and cultural complexities, this statistic might not come as a surprise. After all, India is a land where modesty and restraint are often looked up to and admired, perhaps contributing to a more patient approach to matters of intimacy. Our next stop is the Lion City itself, Singapore. With an average age of 22.8 years, this island nation seems to strike a balance between traditional values and modern sensibilities. One can't help but wonder if the city's bustling cosmopolitan atmosphere might play a role in shaping attitudes towards personal relationships and experiences. Now, let's move towards China. With an average age of 22.1 years, the world's most populous nation certainly doesn't shy away from taking its time when it comes to losing one's virginity. Perhaps the statistic reflects China's vast cultural landscape. Thailand is also around the same age, about an average of 20.5 years, and Vietnam, where the average age is 19.7. Sticking with that 19.7 average, we find ourselves in the culturally diverse nation of Nigeria. This statistic might just be a reflection of how complex Nigerian society is. Onwards to Europe, where we'll first touch down in Spain. With an average age of 19.2 years, this nation appears to have a balance between traditional values and a zest for life that might just spark a more open attitude toward personal experiences. In Italy, the average age is 18.9. In a country renowned for its love of art, food, and la dolce vita, perhaps this number gives a more relaxed celebratory approach to intimacy. In Russia, where the average age is 18.7, cultural and traditional values often emphasize the importance of family, conservative social norms, and a strong influence of Orthodox Christianity, which is known to promote abstinence before marriage. These factors may contribute to a higher average age, as individuals may feel more societal pressure to wait until they're more established or in committed relationships. In France, with an average age of 18.5, there's a more liberal attitude towards sexuality compared to some other countries. French society is often characterized by a more open-minded approach to relationships and sex education, which could be the reason for a slightly lower average age. In contrast, the UK, with an average age of 18.3, has a more liberal and modern approach to sexuality with greater emphasis on individual freedom. This may contribute to a culture where young people feel more empowered to make their own choices regarding sex at a slightly younger age. You see, across the globe, attitudes towards sex vary widely. In Europe, countries like France and the Netherlands are known for their liberal views on sexuality, with open discussions and comprehensive sex education. Moreover, the survey found that nearly 1 in 5 women and 1 in 10 men felt that they and their partner weren't equally willing to engage at the time. What are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below. Hit that like button and share this video. Subscribe to the channel so you can stay connected with us. Thanks for watching.